We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And we're here for another great morning, ready to dig in and to answer your questions all week long. We've been doing so. It's been Relationship Q&A week, and we're happy to be able to oblige you because we know that there are issues and circumstances that you're dealing with, and we want to meet you where you're at. And so we encourage you, as you're tuning in, put where you're from and your questions so we can dig right in to this incredible conversation.
Yes, and I want to welcome you this morning. Thank you guys for joining us every day. Make sure you're liking and you're subscribing. If you're new, hit the notification bell. That way you will not miss a show. Guys, are you sharing? Are you sharing? Are you telling everybody that you know, every married couple that you know, every couple that's in relationship that you know about the Couples Academy Show? Guys, we are helping so many people, and it's not like we're doing it alone. Y'all are a huge help. We love the way you guys interact together in the chat, encouraging one another, sharing your experiences with one another. It's really powerful when we come together in numbers and are willing to stand for something that we believe in. Couples are, married couples, that's the foundation of the world. God created that foundation first. So it must be so important to him.
It sure is.
If it's important to him, it should be important to us. So let's make sure that we're spreading the word. Get your friends and your family and your neighbors on the Couples Academy Show.
Let's talk to the people. Who do we have? Who's here today?
So what we got today, we got JG, good morning. We got GGB from Atlanta, good morning. Good morning, Fatandra, I got that right. Memphis, Tennessee. Ronald Clark from Murfreesboro, wherever that is. Good morning. JD, good morning, brother. Good to see you. Clarence Jackson and Facebook user. We still don't know who Facebook user is. We need you to put a name in there, Facebook user, because you are so committed. You're here every morning, so make sure you let us know. Hey, Kia, good to see you. Ronald, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us and being so committed every morning. When you come in, well, this week anyway, all week, we've been doing Relationship Q&A. So we've just been making ourselves available to answer all of your questions, because we come on here with topics and we know that they're helpful, but sometimes there's a little comment in there that's a little off and we're like, we got to get to that. We got to get to this. You guys have questions. You guys have thoughts. You have opinions. You're going through things. We want to know what it is. So make sure that all week, well, tomorrow's Friday, so that's going to be Question Friday anyway.
Here it is.
Make sure you drop your question when you come on this morning so that we have something to answer. So Hassan, do we have one question to start with today?
We do. We're going to get started with this, and remember, as we're doing this, get your question in. Don't be like those other folks waiting to the last segment to get your questions in.
Every time, right? As soon as we get ready to close out, all of a sudden they start popping in.
Here it is. But here from Melinda, he doesn't feel like he cheated because he says they were just friends. He spent time at her house as a friend, but he's remorseful that he lied about it. Well, this is what we call a close call friendship, and we talk about this at length, and there's a process that we've taken all of our Moving Forward members through, and I just want to acknowledge all the Moving Forward members that tune in every single day. So an affair, let's qualify this, because an affair is when you give your emotional, social, or sexual energy to someone outside of your marriage without disclosing it to your partner. Even if you did, it's still cheating. Like, hey, I'm with somebody else, that's still cheating. But the point is, this is where it gets kind of tricky, because if there was no intercourse or anything like that, it's more of an emotional connection, a social entanglement. And depending upon who you talk to, one will define it as, well, it was a close call friendship. One would say it's an affair. But whatever the case may be, it is a betrayal. That's the key, because people get caught up in, well, was it cheating, and was it an affair, and was it adultery? And it wasn't, because we justify it based upon circumstances. It was a betrayal because you lied, deceived, kept get something from your spouse that you did not want them to know about, and here we are dealing with it. And so the more you minimize it and make less of it, the more your spouse will maximize it. And this is why it's important to have a conversation that someone can navigate you through to give you working operational definitions for what that behavior actually was, so that we can call a spade and figure out how to move on from that point.
Yeah, and they perfect answer, and they just need to be able to acknowledge that, because I've talked to many folks who, when you tell them that this is still an affair, they don't, well, I don't see it that way, or I don't agree. Well, if I show you the definition of a word in the encyclopedia or in the dictionary, you need to just accept it as truth and move based on that. So it's really about learning these things and then accepting those things. Here's another question from Zach, morning from Ohio. What are some techniques, things we can do as a couple to help us keep progressing and healing in between our weekly counseling session? It's easy to get off track as the betrayed. I agree 100%. And you know, I mean, we think about throughout the week in any relationship, all the struggle that you go through. I mean, we ride the struggle bus a lot, getting on and off, right? But all the more so when there's been a betrayal. This is why it's so important for us to actually work on the marriage and in the marriage throughout the week. And so we offer up the work day and the play day. Most of the arguments that we get into throughout the week are very emotional, right? It's about our emotional needs. And so we have you deal with that. Look at the emotional needs questionnaire, really have a clear expectation written out for one another. And those are the things that you work on throughout the week. So you're not just dealing with the affair. You know, after the full discovery and we go through the details of the affair, we should be moving on and working on other issues that were always present in the marriage prior to. So that helps you. If you're coming together every week and instead of kind of just moving on like nothing happened, checking in with your spouse, making sure that you're on the right track, that helps. And then that date day, that play day, where you go out and you connect and you're dating and you're being romantic, all those things help to rekindle that intimacy and that connection.
Absolutely. And here's the reality. A lot of times people live life by avoidance. Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, we have clients where we get into some great conversations in a session and then we come back and we say, well, how's the week? Tell us about your successes and your setbacks. Oh, well, it was a great week and, you know, everything was all good. Well, did you talk about what we discussed? Oh, no, we didn't. We didn't talk about, well, did you do your assignment? No, we got busy.
No,
we didn't do that either. Well, did you come together and do it? Well, it was the point is the session is not the work. The session is where you find out what work you need to do. So the technique is to work it. The question is, will it work? It'll work if you work it. And so your therapist or your counselor, because I understand you're going to weekly sessions, is not your savior. They're not going to turn things around. Is the work that you do in between that week. So to Danielle's point, work day, play day, get it in, be consistent, because those who are the most successful are those who engage in those two important days of the week every single week. Those who struggle the most are the ones who avoid it for any list of ideas and excuses that we come up with.
Okay, these things are jumping in so fast. I lost mine here. I'm going to read it. I found it. Okay, from Clarence. My wife had a habit of sweeping things under the rug when there's a problem. My approach is to get to the root of the problem so we can move on and heal from it. We have ordered your books and many others, but when it comes to our problem, she won't use the tools that you and many others recommend for us to use to work it out.
Yeah, that's so we're talking about the peacekeeper and the peacemaker. We've talked about this before. The peacekeeper just wants to keep the peace, and in his or her extreme will sweep those issues under the rug and never want to deal with it. And you, of course, the peacemaker, want to deal with it right now. And so the truth is, you can have all the information you want. What you need is accountability. What you need is a third party to hold you both accountable and to navigate the conversation. We say this all the time. If you're trying to recover and you put yourself behind the wheel and you're the one driving to try to get to your destination, there's going to be problems. If your spouse is in the passenger seat or the back seat, they have a problem with where you're leading them, and vice versa. That's why you need somebody else to have these conversations. And let me tell you something. There are times when we're just in the session listening.
Yeah.
Just listening, and they're able to have a more effective conversation because they're in the presence of somebody else than when they're on their own.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely use those rules.
Speaking to that accountability piece, I mean, in addition to the peacekeeper and the peacemaker, these personality styles also come into play where if I've seen you make promises and commitments to me in my relationship for so many years and nothing has changed, when you want to work on it, now I might have a position I'm holding. I might be stubborn. I might be unwilling to hear or unwilling to participate. I was there at that one point where I had the wall up and I was unwilling to participate in the recovery process, even when Hassani was actually for real, finally ready. I didn't know that. It took me some time to see that. So that accountability piece is good because it allows for someone else to watch in, listen in, guide, and help the other person that might already be like scarred and wounded and hiding behind the wall see that there's potential and that there's an opportunity for recovery here. So
powerful question.
Yeah.
Mama 2CINQT, whatever your name is, my brother or sister, not sure. But listen, what you can do is you're asking, are the questions seen in the chat? Yes, they are. If you do not want your question seen in this chat, simply give us a text at 678-200-8996. We will read it. It will be anonymous. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. Be right back.
The Couples Academy show. This is Relationship Q&A week, and we're going to go to the next question here. Monisha says, what's your advice on how to talk to a procrastinating spouse without seeming like you're trying to force their hand? You know what I have found that works? Take action. Take action. Hassani may not even know that this works on me as well, but it does. It just works. When you take action and start to do the thing, a lot of times they start to pay attention, something within them starts to wiggle and worm, and they feel like they need to do it too. I think about sometimes when I'm like sitting around and we need to clean up the house and I'm like, I'm gonna get to it later, and Hassani will start picking up, then all of a sudden I feel like I need to get up and pick up and start doing. This is how we do it. A lot of times we can't control our spouse, but we can lead by example. So when it comes to procrastinating in your relationship, things that have to get done around the house and in life in general, when you get up and start to do something, you will find that they pay attention. Now, if they don't pay attention, and if we're talking about, what is it, the superior wife syndrome kind of a thing, where the husband, I don't know if you've ever heard of that book, but it's a great book. It talks about how women kind of take on a lot, and sometimes our husbands will let us because we're so good at it, right? If you find that your spouse is not picking up some of the weight and is doing everything, then that's another issue that we would have to come back to the table on. But a lot of times, a quick solution is to actually get into action and be consistent with it. They begin to see the change in you, and then they want some of that change, and they come on board with you.
Yeah, so just so you know, we're reading text messages and comments, and so if it sounds a little weird when we're reading it, we're just reading it as it's being said. It's been 2.5 years and my husband's affair and I still unsettled. I don't see him as I once did. What could he be doing, or what could I be doing besides divorce to ease my anger? He is remorseful, but in my mind he got caught. I hate being angry but can't shake it. Makes for a miserable wife. Yeah, here's the reality. The recovery process for everybody is different depending upon what they do. You know, many people have said, well, you know what? In time heals all wounds. That's not necessarily true. Time is neutral. It's what you do with that time. There are people who have done nothing, and what should have taken 2 years, because statistically, it is said when you're doing the work that you need to do, couples counseling, individual counseling, it could take up to 2 years for you to fully heal. But for those who aren't committed to a process, that 2 years can turn into 20, that 20 can turn into an eternity. But those who double down and go in it and go all the way in and do what's necessary, we have found that they have recovered and healed sooner than 2 years. It just depends upon you. It's the human element that's involved in this process. So I would encourage you to get individual counseling. I would encourage you to get a good book that deals with your personal healing, your growth, your development. I encourage you to get into a setting where you're having ongoing conversations. Yes, you need to talk about the affair, but at some point it needs to get beyond that, because if you're focused on outward relationships and not the relationship you have with your spouse, it can lead to all types of bitterness and resentment that you hold on to. So please strip it down. And let me just say this, the people who do the best, there is no silver bullet, right? They're not saying it was this one thing. Really, it's an accumulation of things. They've done multiple things and tapped into multiple resources to get the healing that they ultimately want. So it's going to require work. So go out there and get it.
I think that applies really well to JG's comment here. What are some steps I can work on for self-healing? I lost confidence and self-worth, so I never want my husband loving on me after he was unfaithful. And, you know, we talked about this sex masterclass we're doing, Sex After Betrayal. It's coming. What's the date that we have?
It's going to be March 27th. We'll put the link in for tomorrow.
I mean, what Hassani said, perfect. You know, finding some way to develop your own personal confidence again, because unfortunately our bodies are like the earth. You know, when our spouses say mean, hurtful things, you can't really take it back. You can do your best to block it, consciously block it, right? But when those seeds come into our body and take root, now we're thinking about it and we're feeling it and we start to water it. And so now you've got this big old tree of insecurity, you know, lack of worthiness showing up in your life. And you've got to do your best to dismantle it. You've got to do your best to keep from those things from taking root in your spirit and your mind. But since they already have, there's a lot that you can do, getting into a group where they focus on personal development so that you can start to feel good about yourself.
Here's another great question. During the full disclosure period, what questions are off limits? My husband was engaged in an 8-month affair with a secretary whom he still currently works with. He insists there is no emotional connection, which is hard for me to believe. With many questions I have asked, how he responds with, well, how will that benefit you or us? Even with the seemingly small questions, he says he doesn't want to add to my trigger list. When does too much information become damaging? I just feel like I'll explode without the answers to the questions, even though I know the answers may be devastating. Yep, that's the tricky thing, because as they say, curiosity killed the cat, and some people are not wired to handle that level of detail. Really, it's a case by case. So here's what happens. If the person who's being asked the question would not want to know if they were in that position, they project their issues on their partner. And so because they wouldn't want to know, they don't want to share. But the person who's asking the questions, you have two types of people. If I get this information, for some, it may hurt, harm, and hinder. And for others, it may help. And so what we do when we take people through the full disclosure process, we have them prepare what they need to prepare for the conversation. And prior to the conversation, we take a look at the questions, because we may challenge some of those questions. We may get to the root of like, why do you want to know that? What is that really about? What are you really trying to discover? And so we kind of coach them through how to shape and form those questions. We don't want to deny truth, because the truth needs to come out. But sometimes, how it comes out, or how it's delivered, or how it's packaged, or how it's asked does make a difference. Because once you get a thought and a vision in your mind, it's hard to get that back out. You can't get it out of your mind again. So the question is, if it's in there, will it haunt you? Will you be haunted by the ghosts of the past of what happened? Or will it help you? Because you can learn from an affair. There's no question about it. The question is, what do you plan on doing with that information when you get it?
Well, we're going to a break.
We're going to a break. Listen, we have one more segment, and we got a lot of questions. So we want you to continue to stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this.
Okay.
Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text MARRIAGE to 973-490-4668. Join today. Your marriage deserves it.
All right, guys, we're back. Here's another question. 6 months since D-Day, and I'm a little better each day, but I find myself replaying D-Day in my mind and wishing I had reacted different. I'm still angry and hurt. How do I get past the triggers? I live in a small town where everyone knows everyone, so I am forced to see the affair partner all the time, and my friends are friends with the affair partner. I never told anyone that my spouse cheated with this person, so no one in our community knows about it. I feel like I'm suffering alone. Yeah, this is a hardship, and we talk about this when you're in your community and everywhere you go, boom, there they go again. Yeah. So you're constantly re-triggered again and again and again. You know, I know we've said this ad nauseum, but I'm telling you, most of you are just trying to do this on your own.
That's it.
And you think you have the ability to do it, and you I mean, listen, there is some level of growth and change you can do on your own, but listen, even the best athletes have coaches, the best business people have coaches, the best people who are financially astute, they have they have somebody that held them by the hand, showed them the way, exposed them to things that they weren't aware of. Why are you trying to do this on your own?
And what you said, exposing you to things that you weren't aware of, because when you understand triggers, when you learn about them and how they happen and why they happen, then you can get comfortable with actually feeling and experiencing them, because that's the path to healing. You have to experience and feel them. It's just like when I have thin ankles and I've sprained them a million times. You do too, right? Well, one of them is bigger than the other because it got stronger from the pain, right? It's been injured and now it's thicker, it's stronger. I haven't sprained that thing in years. And so it's kind of how it happens. The wound of the affair, the shock and awe of it all coming back to haunt you here and there and everywhere. And it's all around you. Everybody knows. Well, putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions and getting comfortable being uncomfortable is the path to dealing with and overcoming triggers. And I know it sounds crazy, right? We would think we should be avoiding them. Or some of us think we should just express how it comes, and just however it comes out, everyone around us has to deal with it. No, we have to take control of those triggers and learn and heal through those triggers.
And I would also say, why does no one know? See, you have two different extremes. There are some people who tell the world and put up billboards and say, my spouse cheated on me, he's a dirty dog, or she's no good. And then others who are tight-lipped and don't tell a single soul. And so my question would be is, what is the reason or the motive around that? Is it about you? Is it about reputation? Is it about image? Is it about protecting your, like, what is that really about? Because there should be an inner core community that you are free to talk to that can help you through your situation so you are not suffering alone.
Yeah, a safe community. Somebody who's not going to run and tell that, right? Like your counselor, your pastor, somebody should know. Okay, let's go to the next question. Vashawn says, what should I do if I'm willing to go to counseling and my spouse is not? She feels we should be able to fix our issues without having others in our business. I mean,
same thing.
There we go.
It's the same thing. Yeah. We're just replaying the same thing. I think I was definitely there, and a lot of people are there. And so maybe it's about finding somebody who's far and distant and is not connected in any way to someone you may know. So there's a sense of safety and freedom in that conversation.
I mean, there's a reason why there are experts. You know, you see a lot of people selling stuff online. They're the experts. They made all the mistakes so that you don't have to. So you can piecemeal this thing together and listen to our show and get a bunch of books and do 1,000 things, and you're running all over the place, pillar to post, trying to figure this thing out. Or you can find a place that is an expert in this thing and can lead you through this process. And I think maybe if she had a mindset shift on this and maybe felt more comfortable about the place, maybe she would be willing to join you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to the next comment here. We got that one in. Y'all drop these questions in. Okay. Author says, discovering your YouTube channel. Thank you. I know in marriage we feel alone and that we're going through a lot, but going through means we're not stuck. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for that
Appreciate
comment.
that, author.
I think that was half of that. Let's see. We got another comment up here. I'm finding myself making plans to be financially free and plotting to leave him and get my peace of mind. Anything I can do to figure out how to work things out.
To me, that's more of a. I want to know.
Your mind is a powerful thing, my friend.
I want to know more about that. Yeah. I would encourage you, please set up a discovery call with us. Go to the website, couplesacademy.org. I don't want to give an answer to that without knowing. I mean, go ahead, do your thing.
Because here, and it kind of speaks to what he's about to say, that not knowing all the details, because sometimes you actually need to be planning to escape. There are some instances where you actually do need to pack your bag, get to a safe location, and then plan from there. But if you have not done any work in your marriage, if there is still hope in your marriage, and you are over here fantasizing about what it would be like if, I know exactly what that feels like, because we never worked on our marriage prior to that time when I was just like, oh, well, we just gonna be what it is. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. And I began to imagine what my home would look like. I had an apartment in my imagination. I had it decorated my way. I mean, I had my own whole life over here, what it would be without Hassani. But we had never worked on a thing at that point. So there's two things that could be going on, and we don't know the details in there. So to Hassani's point, I would go ahead and schedule a call so that we can get more into the details.
She wasn't going nowhere. She wasn't going nowhere, y'all. I saw to that. Go to the next question.
I didn't go anywhere, that's true. Let's see. Valens says, blessed morning, how do you handle an emotionally unavailable spouse? Oh, she's not finished. Well, we can start with that. How do you handle an emotionally unavailable spouse?
Yeah, that's a
guys, question all by itself.
Yeah. So what aspect of that person is unemotional? Like, are they not willing to open up? Are they not willing to talk? Are they not willing to connect? Are they not willing to be intimate? Like, I would need to know more about that, because it's kind of broad, right? So when you say emotionally unavailable, there's so many aspects of that in terms of how they're showing up. And so maybe there's a way that you can connect with them that leads to them opening up emotionally. So, when we talk about intimacy, there's 4 components of it, right? There's spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, and physical intimacy. And if they have compartmentalized the emotional side of themselves, maybe the key to unlock that door is through another pathway. And so that's why it's important to know more into the details of what specifically you're talking about, so we can come up with a strategy that'll get you there.
All right, we're going to try to shorten these answers and get to as much as we can. Monisha says, any advice on how to maintain a blended family? We finally got the kids to get along, and now the baby's mama is trying harder than ever to disrupt everyone's peace, even the kids. Y'all need to show up as a fortified unit up front, you and your husband. That's the only way. That's how you get the children in line, and that's how you get that baby's mama in line. There should be nothing and no one that comes between you. Now, that might be how you think, but it may not be how your partner thinks, and that's where training and support comes in to help somebody understand, hey, this is how you do blended family. If there is a separation and there's a part of this relationship that you have to be hands off, you can't speak to certain kids and you don't have a say in schedules and things of that nature, things can become awry and get out of hand so fast. You guys need to be the ones to say, these are the rules, these are the boundaries, and keep everybody out.
Remember in the movie Why Did I Get Married, you had Tasha, I forget the dude's name, but anyway, they had a baby mama situation, and I remember I remember that scene where he was pissed. He got up, he checked everybody. He put everybody in their place. But in essence, I think the biological parent needs to navigate that conversation and speak on behalf of the family unit to make sure that rules are established, put in place, so that disrespect doesn't continue.
That's it.
You got another question?
Do we have time?
We got time for one more.
I see D. Weed says, I'm still healing from the last known infidelity 2 years ago, and intimacy for me is not the same for him. He shows love through sex and him always wanting it.
Yeah, this is exactly why we're doing the masterclass Sex After Betrayal, because these are the common scenarios that couples struggle with, and it's about finding a rhythm and a flow that works for the both of you. So please join it. We'll send that information out on tomorrow.
We got time for another one?
One more time.
Okay. Abby says, what happens when your spouse refuses marriage counseling, brings porn into your sex life, life and refuses to work on their triggers, even though you brought it to their attention? That's like 3 questions.
Number 1, get counseling for you. Number
Yes.
2, create boundaries in that relationship, because things have to change. Like, if he's going to be an unwilling participant, then he doesn't get all the benefits of that marriage. It's just like, well, what will motivate him to change? Remember, I said men are motivated by the fear of loss. When they feel like they may lose something, trust and believe things will begin to shift. So stop focusing on how he needs to change and figure out how you need to change in that situation.
I was gonna say, roll the tape back. He brought the porn into your sex life. That means that you accepted that. So we have to take responsibility for our part in this and work on ourselves. I love that response. We're wrapping it up. But guys, listen, tomorrow, the last day, relationship Q&A. Bring your questions early, as soon as you come on. Hi, my name is, I'm from, my question. That's how we do it, so we can get through as many questions as we possibly can. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Boom.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.